more this way.
How about this?
It's a little better.
Hey guys, welcome to the live webinar today. And today it's Wednesday, so we're doing a live case study for today's webinar. Hopefully the sound is going through, and we're going to get started. So it's good. All right. So it's Case Study Wednesday, and today we're going to be talking about actually auction versus MLS, but more importantly, adjusting with the changing market, right? If you guys haven't been paying attention, hopefully you've seen what's been going on with the interest rates, and that the market is adjusting, and it's adjusting at a really, really rapid pace. Now, there are going to be two types of people, right? The interest rates are going higher. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, right? The interest rates are going to go high. Now, the thing that people get worried about all the time is, oh my God, is it going to be a free fall? Is it going to be a free fall, right? In terms of the property prices. Of course, interest rates is going to drive your property prices. So I'll give you guys an example of this, and I think this will put it in a very simple manner. So let's just put the taxes aside, and let's just put the insurance payment aside. So let's just take a property that is very, very simply where you have a property that's $250,000, right? So for $250,000, if somebody had bought the property about a year or so ago, if they had bought this same property for a $250K property, and this is why it's important to understand why what's going on, what is going on is $250K property at that time. If you were going to just buy the property as a home to live in at 3.2%, and we're not considering the taxes, we're not considering the insurance payments, because those are not the ones, they've gone up obviously with inflation, but that's not what is going to make the biggest difference. The biggest difference is this: your payment on a regular loan would have been about $1,081 for $250,000 loan, right? Not changing anything else, not changing what your insurance payment would be, what your tax payment would be, whatever, right? So your payment would look like somewhere around, maybe $1,500, $1,600 on a property like this. Today, right, just leaving everything the same, you're going to be somewhere around 6.87%. So the difference is that it's $629, right? So there's a difference of about $650, just singularly because the interest rate is up from about 3.2 somewhere over there to almost 7.2%. So your number is going to be, did it at 6.8. So even if I do it at 7%, it's almost 663 in your payments, right? And this is the biggest delta. So now what does that mean? In a place like Illinois, where the taxes are very high, or even in Florida. So I'll give you guys an example of this for the Florida market, and we'll do actual numbers. Then we're going to get into today's case study. Today's case study is going to be oh my God, Andrew, I bought a property back in January. I bought a property last December, and I was relying on the market then. So what do I do today, right? It's called, you have to be able to pivot, because if you didn't realize that the last 2 years, especially after Corona was an interesting time. Now looking back at it, a lot of people go, oh my God, I should have upgraded. Instead of having a $200,000 house, I should have been in a $400,000 house, right? Or instead of $400,000, I should have bought a $700,000 house. But the property prices were so high. Now looking at your payment metrics, if you look at how much your payments have jumped, today it seems stupid. Why didn't you buy the biggest, baddest house possible and lock in a 30-year rate? But none of us, right? And we've all felt that way. I felt that way when the stock market was going straight up back in the 90s. I couldn't participate. I didn't have the money to be able to participate, right? From 2001, after 9/11, about 6 months later, to 2007, right? I couldn't participate. The market went straight up, and then it came straight down. we have to deal with what we got. So don't worry about what happened, what you did, because you can't, it's like water under the bridge. Can't change that. You have to look at today, what do I do, right? And that doesn't mean there are two types of people. One person that's, oh my God, it's panic, everything is bad. Well, then just jump off a bridge. Or number two is, what is the solution? So remember these words. When the market goes up, meaning when the interest rate shoots through the roof, you got to double down. Simple. When the interest rate shoots through the roof, you got to double down. So what do I mean by double down? Am I saying you got to buy more when the interest rate shoots through the roof? Not really. What I'm saying is this: you got to double down on beating up the sellers in terms of the price, right? How much of an offset do I need to adjust for market conditions, keeping inflation in mind? So I would keep a percentage of about 9% to 10% inflation. What I mean by that is this: if your insurance payment was, say, $600, if expect it to be at least 9 to 10% higher for each year for the last 2 years. What that means is basically for year one, it would be 60% extra, $60 extra. For next number 2 year, it's going to be about $70 extra. So if your insurance payment was here, now it's 60 plus this. Because everything incrementally, this is just like it or not like it, has gone up because of inflation. And that's what they're trying to stem. So we have to adapt, right? One thing, if you were going to be in a business for a long period of time, and you want to end up in a very wealthy position, you'll always see, right? Every 5, 6, 8 years, we're going to have to adapt. Either you adapt or you're going to be out of business. So today, as the interest rate is shooting through the roof, what do? You're going to make offers, meaning if you're making an offer today. So today, as we record as we're doing this live, this is November the 2nd, right? 2022. Well, guess what's going to happen? We know they're forcing the interest rates up so they can tamp down on the market. They feel that is better for the economy, right? If they're right or wrong, we're not going to know in the moment. We're going to know when we look back in history. So clearly, the Fed is still in the phase of raising interest rates. That's just me. Some people feel it's going to go to 10. I don't feel personally. This is just my opinion, right? None of us, nobody, the so-called experts are the talking heads of the industry, right? Nobody knows that because it's not like they control the Fed. But to me, I don't feel that it's going to go to 10%. That's just me. But if it does, guess what we're going to do? We're going to double down even more, meaning we're going to drive the sellers basically down in terms of the pricing we offer. And guess what's going to happen? And you're going to say, well, Andrew, nobody's going to sell the house. Well, I bet you, I'd be willing to take a 10, 15, $20,000 bet with anybody watching this, that as the interest rate ticks up, more and more and more sellers are going to feel beat up, and there's a certain percentage of the market that has to sell the house. Guys, number one, who wins when the market goes straight up? We do as investors because we buy properties at a huge discount. Who wins when the property prices go straight down? We win as long as we double down, because why? We're buying property prices at a discount. What it means is this: the retail market, whether the market's going up or whether the market's going down, our job as investors is always to stay 6 months to 8 months ahead of retail. If you're not 6 to 8 months ahead of retail, what you're going to end up basically having is you're going to get caught with your pants down. This is going to happen 100%, and I can guarantee you that. Now, it's not like any of us, none of us basically buy properties where we're 100%, right? So in the last few months, I bought about, 25, 30 properties that I bought. One property I bought in Melrose Park, I screwed up. Right? I liked the house too much. It was a nice, clean house, and it's worth about $260,000. And me, of all people, I paid $200,000 for that stupid property, right? And it happens. Now, is it a bad property inherently? No, but was not bought as at big a discount that I have bought other properties. So it's not the market. It's me that made a mistake. And I made the mistake, and I knew it because I knew I got too emotional. Nice, beautiful brick ranch in the middle of Melrose Park. We didn't have to do more than about $22,000 in work to it, right? It appraised out at $270,000. So I'm in that deal with $200,000 plus another $22,000 in clause plus some carrying costs on. So 235. That's not a good deal by my standards. I need to be all into that property at 180. And you might say, well, Andrew, you would have lost the property. Well, so what? I would have lost the property. Big deal. But, right now I'm going to have some money invested in the property, but it is what it is. So what my point being is that as the interest rates are going up, we need to adjust for it. So today's case study is going to be about a property that I bought on as a auction deal, right? So I want to walk you through the entire process because the refi just got done. So I want you to kind of get a idea of what this property is. So let me share my screen really quickly. And what I'm going to do is walk you through. Now, mind you, when we look at a result of something, right? Meaning today you're going to see the result of what's happened with the property. But guess when that property was bought? That property was bought 6, 7, 8 months ago. Interest rate was very different at that time. Now, were we in a business environment where things were going better, or were we in a business environment where things were starting to slow down? Well, 6, 8 months ago, we knew interest rates are going to creep up. So did I buy the property correctly at that time, right? We can only judge today because at that time, I needed to be thinking in the future. Investing has nothing to do with what happened in the past. It only has to do with what will happen in the future. And can you make a calculated bet? The better you are at basically making a good, informed, logical decision, right, the better investor you're going to be. And if you're not paranoid in the short term, and if you're not optimist in the long term, you must be, to be a good investor. This basic philosophy comes from a book which was written basically by Benjamin Graham, who was the teacher for Warren Buffett. Right? And the idea in that basic thing is that you have to be a short-term pessimist, meaning in the short term, you can't be too exuberant. Oh my God, right? You have to be a little scared. If you're not scared, then guess what's going to happen? You're going to have to make a mistake. But in the long term, you have to think like the eternal optimist, that in the long term, things are going to work out. That is what makes a great investor. So let's look back at this property, and I'm going to kind of walk you through it. We'll show you the HUD from the closing, meaning from the refinance, and we'll show you kind of what the appraisal report came in, so you get to see the entire process beginning all the way to the end. So where's the property located? So this property happens to be this little property. It's 19805 Crestwood in Linwood. Right? And the refi just got done 2 days ago. 2 days ago, I finished the refi on this. Now, this particular property, so think about this, right? Whenever people look at a property, I didn't show my screen, sorry. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see my screen at this point, right? So this is the property that that I'm pointing at right now. If you look at it, nice brick house. It's got the roof on the garage was no good. I changed the roof. The garage doors are redone. This whole thing has been redone. It's got new cabinets, new appliances. It's basically in mint condition at this point, right? So it got completely redone, and I spent about $23,000. Now, when I went to buy this property, right, because that's what we have to go back to, is that what was the thought process? And whenever somebody says, hey, I did X, Y, Z, and I did it successfully, what you should always, it's not about, oh my God, how much money I made, okay? How much money I made, it's my money, you can't spend it. And if you make a bunch of money, I can't spend your money. So it doesn't matter. You can't count my money. What you have to always think about is, what is it that I can take home educationally to learn from this particular conversation? That's what is the most important thing. So when I looked at this particular property, so imagine, now I'm not going to get into the auction intricacies today, right? That's for another day. But imagine if you were to look at a property like this. How would you decide what am I going to pay for the property, right? You got to think about that. number one, you have to think about, even before you go running and buy something or do something, number one, what you have to think about is, okay, what is this particular property worth, right? Why am I going to buy in the area? So if you were from Mastery, what I would say is the first thing we're going to look at is area selection, meaning, is this an area, is this a good area that I'm going to buy, right? That's the number one thing that first you have to look at. It's not about the property. It's first about the area, then it's about the property, then it's more about the strategy that you're going to use, and then it's about the property, and then it's about the rehab, and then it's about the numbers, right? In that particular order. What most people do is they don't look at area first, they run to the property the first thing. So second thing I'm going to look at is, well, what about the property? And what about the property in relation to the other properties, right? So in the last couple of years, a lot of areas went through the roof. Even areas that had a lot of challenges, cheap money was available, and areas went through the roof because people could get cheap money, right? Now what's going to happen? The areas are going to adjust. So this area to me is a solid B area, right? B meaning nice bread and butter area. A is aspirational, B is bread and butter, C is area with some challenges, D is area that's a disaster. I don't invest in D areas. For my personal portfolio, I won't even really buy challenging areas. That's not something that I'm going to buy. Not that it doesn't make money, makes a lot of money, but I'm not going to buy that. So I'm going to buy B, solid B areas and A areas for my particular portfolio to keep, okay? So now what happens is the second thing is property. The third thing is going to be is, how about the rehab? Now, rehab is something, if I'm buying a property, as I said, at auction, I'm not going to know this number. Why? Because I have not been on the inside. So I have to make an educated guess that, hey, the property is going to need so-and-so work. All I can do is, in this particular case, it was vacant. I could see through the windows, so on and so forth, right? So when I am buying a property at auction, I have to be extra careful, right? Extra careful, which is something very simple, but I have to be extra careful about buying a property at auction because I have to discount a bunch of price. So here was the logical thinking when I bought this property, when I looked at it back in, I think it was January or so when I bought the property, I believe, or maybe it may have been a little bit later of the year. But anyways, so at that point, what had happened was a lot of people were looking at, okay, what about the area? I knew the area is good. This happens to be in Linwood. Then I looked at this. So let me show you guys my, so what I looked at was this, and this is something that everybody has access to. So hopefully you can see my screen where it has I have pulled up Zillow, right? You don't have to be an agent to be a good investor, right? All an agent can do is, if you're an agent, it gives you access to MLS, makes it easier for you to get into the properties. But that's all it does. So just because you're not a real estate agent doesn't mean you cannot be as good an investor. So what I did was I looked at, okay, what are all the properties that are for sale, right? First, I wanted to figure out, hey, what is the inventory market? Now, this is going to give me the properties that are for sale today. This is what I had done at that time, and I went through and looked at in Linwood. Okay, what is the price range? What are all the properties for sale? What am I going to be competing with when I bring my property to the market? And then I'm going to go through all the pricing over here, right? Look at all the properties. What do they look like inside? I'm not going through that details today because I'm giving you overall perspective. And then I'm going to go look at the solds, right? Hey, what sold, right? So what sold in the last 6 months, what sold in the, so look at the amount of sales, but these are too many sales. I don't want that. I'm going to go and look at, okay, what happened? And I'm going to go look at what happened in that particular period of time so that I can figure out, okay, what were all the sales in that particular area? What was the pricing? What was the condition of the property? So if I click on that, it'll give me the condition of the property on the inside, right? And at the time when I did this particular study, what I was looking at was a property like the one I was going to buy. And this is important. The properties like the one I was going to buy in the location I would buy were going anywhere from 200 and about 250 to 300, depending on who you ask. Now, most people will tend to say, oh, my property is worth this. Me, I will always be on the conservative side. So when I'm going to buy a property, I'm going to buy a property at auction. So the math that I used was, oh my God, maybe the property is only worth 250. Hey, Lori, give me the numbers on this. So 250 times 0.6, what is the number? 250,000 times 60%. Huh? 150. So 250 times 60%. Now, you're going to say, some of you are thinking, they're like, Andrew, I thought you always say this is supposed to be 250 times 70, right? Yes, it is. But when I'm buying the property at auction, remember, what did I say? I need to be more careful. I need to be more cautious. So I said that that number, this times this, equals 150 minus my rehab number. Now, if I was able to visit the property inside, it would be easier for me to come up with an accurate number. But what I had thought was, well, maybe I can, fix up this particular property somewhere around 30 to 35,000 is what I thought, right? So I thought that I'm going to pay no more than 120 absolutely at the auction. So that was kind of my number at that particular, sorry, 120,000 bucks, right? I ideally would love to buy the property at 70, 80, 90, because the auction bid, starting bid, was 78 or 80,000 bucks or something like that, I believe. And it went up to 115, 120, 130. And guess what? Right? I ended up buying this property at the auction. This is me. This was my absolute max. I bought this property for 135,000 bucks. This is what I paid. Now, could I have taken that property? Could I have done a fix and flip on the property? Sure, right? I could put in about, say, 30,000 for the property, and I could put the property back. So I would be this plus some carrying cost, some other costs. So if I do, say, 10,000 in carrying cost, another 20,000 in selling costs and other stuff. So I would be 135 plus 30, that would be 165, 165 plus 30, I would be 195. And I know as clear as day that by now I could have had the property under contract somewhere around 250, if not more. Now, most properties in that area still are selling somewhere around 260, 275, right? So let's look at how accurate I was with my prediction, right? So here. So this is the appraisal report that came in on this particular property. And I've seen so many of them, yet I cannot figure out. Oh, there we go. That has I paid 136 for the property, and the purchase date was 5/12. So I was off by a little bit. I thought I've owned it for longer than I have, right? And on this, where do they have determination of value? Oh, here we go. So are you guys seeing this or no? Maybe you're not. Hold on. Let me show my screen. Okay, so let me go back. So this is the appraisal report on the property. So I bought the property for 136. It was bought 5/12. Right, is when it was bought. So today it's November. So 5, 6, January, February, March, April. So May. So I bought it in May. So June, July, August, September, October, it's been 5 months. I've been sitting on the property. And this is the 6th month. So I just refinanced it. Buy price was 136. Here are all the comps, and based on the scope of work and based on blah, 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 as of 10/12, the effective appraisal on the property was 265, right? Now, generally, on a refi appraisal, the appraisal is going to come lower than what it is, right? That means that generally, if this property was a resale in a market, then it would be probably about 275, 280, 285. Now, there are properties like this that have sold somewhere close to 300. I just don't think, and this is just my opinion, right, that I always want to play conservatively. If I get the money, great. But if I don't, what am I going to do? So my point always is that what if I don't get that kind of money for the property? So I always assume less. In this case, I decided not to flip the property. If I had flipped the property, I know I could have made about $50,000. I know that, right? But $50,000 is not going to change my lifestyle. 100,000 is not going to change my lifestyle. If I make $500,000 extra or $1 million extra this year, it's not necessarily going to change where I eat, how I live, what I drive, or what I fly. It's just not going to do that. To me, what is more important is, number one, is cash flow. That's what I'm after. So I'm trying to go from about 100-something thousand cash flow a month to 250. So it's the race to 250 net cash flow every single month. I don't know what is for you, but that's my number one goal, is to go to 250,000 in cash flow every single month, month after month after month. So now what happened was this. The appraisal came back at $265,000, right? And at 265, I could get up to a 0.75. So 265, Lori, times 0.75 is what? You know, Lori in our office, she's a genius on a calculator. So it's 198,750. So that's the maximum amount of loan I could have put on that property based on this number. Now, mind you, the problem is this, right? That I want a property with high amount of equity. I want a property that's going to have cash flow, minimum of $500 every single month after all expenses. And then I want to have a DCR also, 1.33. So in this particular case, the challenge was that I want to make sure the amount of money I borrow is a little bit less, because if I borrow all the money out and I don't have enough cash flow, it defeats my purpose, right? So this is kind of what it is. So here's kind of what happened in this particular property that I want to show you guys. So when I took a loan on this particular property, I took a loan of $185,000. So let me show you guys that. $185,500, right? That's the loan that I ended up taking on this particular property. Quite honestly, personally, I don't even want to go that high, but I ended up with a loan in that particular number. So here's what's happening with this particular property, that on a loan of something like that, my payments are somewhere around, actually, I'll tell you. $185,500. So just give me 1 second. Okay, so my payments on this particular property every single month, I keep messing this up, 650. Okay, every single month are $1,650 every single month. And in terms of on a midterm rental on this property, so I'm doing a midterm rental on this property, I'm getting every single month about $2,350 on this particular property. So my cash flow in this particular situation is going to be $2,350 minus $1,650, and that's going to be about $700, right? So when I bought this particular property, it was bought with private money. So I didn't have money out of my own pocket. So it was bought with private money every single month. Now I refinanced it, even though the market is going to adjust. I am considering the value of the property somewhere around 230, 240. I think it's worth more, but every single month I still make $700 on this property. To me, if you ask my personal opinion, I personally, even though the property cash flows, even though I have equity in the property, even though the DCR, debt coverage ratio, is good, I feel I should have bought this property somewhere around $110,000, right? What I paid was a bit higher than I would want to pay, right? Just because something works out doesn't mean this is a home run deal. So we categorize deals in 4 ways. Number 1 is a home run deal. What does a home run deal mean? It means you have 30%, 25, 30% equity in it. You have massive cash flow after every penny of your every penny is out, right? You don't have any money invested. And number 3 is you have 1.33 or more, 1.4, 1.5, 1.6 in terms of your debt coverage ratio. That's called a home run deal. Then it's a great deal, right? Meaning that it quite doesn't fit that, but it fits the next category. Then it's a good deal, and then it's a pretty good deal, and then it goes down to, well, no, we wouldn't do the deal, right? For you, the question becomes is, well, what would you do? What if you had $10,000 invested, $20,000 invested? If you can get a 30, 35, 40% cash on cash return, what that means is you have $10,000 invested in a deal and you make $4,000 for the year, net profit, or you make $5,000 for the year. That's basically a 50% cash on cash. And guys, even when property prices are going down, if you're in the Chicago market, if you're in the pockets of Florida market, if you're in lots of the part of this country, you can get all day long 30, 40, 50% cash on cash returns, right? This is possible. The question becomes is, as the interest rate goes up, you got to double down, meaning you got to start beating up the sellers, and the sellers are ready. Properties are sitting on the market. Vegas market, 70% of the properties are sitting. You look at market across the country. Vegas was one of the hottest markets in the country. And guess what? It's sitting, right? Now is the time, right? You make money when there is blood in the water. And guess what? Right? There's a lot of fish that are bleeding. Your job as an investor is to find out where the opportunity is. And don't think, some people will, well, you want me to take advantage of people. No, you're not taking advantage of people. They need to sell. For whatever reason they need to sell, your job is to go in there and buy it at the right price. That's all it is. This is for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's case study. This is Andrew Holmes. If you have not been to the 3-day, or if you have been, come back. Make sure, let's learn, let's take our investing to the next level. If you have not a part of the Burr community, make sure you join Burr Cashflow Investors on Facebook, and we will talk to you soon. Have a great day. And again, to register for the 3-day event, if you have not, we're barely like a week and a half out, right? And this is the largest real estate event and the most successful people in the Chicagoland area. So you can watch it from around the country, or you can come and attend locally in person. It's National RE Invest. That's nationalreinvest.com. Talk to you soon.